a little of their time. It's definitely appreciated. So yeah, you've joined here because you want to grow your people and let AI agents do the rest. And speaking of people, I am once again Lukas Hubka. I'm the sales director at Easy Software, and I was invited here by my colleague Jakub Blažek. Kuba, would you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yes, hello everyone. Nice of you to join. Welcome. My name is Jakub. I'm Chief Automation Explorer, which is a fancy name for somebody who talks to the business people in companies and finds out cases which to automate or improve by AI. And the reason why I invited Lukas is because he is focused on completely different things at Easy Software, and he's one of my beloved clients, albeit internal client, but he's the person who very often inspires me to find out new automations. I come from a project which is called Easy 8. We are part of Easy Software, and our team focuses on integrations, automations, and AI. So this will be the topic of today, especially for
Nice.
sales, because I've been in sales for a very, very long time. And Lukas is also a sales veteran, so that's why I invited him specifically.
When you say veteran, it makes me feel a little bit old. But I'm just gonna say, like, I see poppy leaves growing from my head. Yet I am very allergic to poppy seeds, so I hope this won't go south. In case there would be anything wrong with me, just please continue with the webinar. Maybe call an ambulance. Otherwise, I think we should be fine.
Yes, don't
A
worry, we will
few
after we finish the webinar.
That's all I would expect. A few administrative or let's say like the general things out of the way. This webinar is being recorded, and everyone that has joined here will receive the recording. You will be able to watch it again or share it with any of your colleagues. So that's going to happen for sure. And also, there is going to be a short Q&A section at the end of this webinar. Please use the Q&A functionality in your Zoom application. That's by far the easiest way to do so. If you have any questions about anything we're going to be talking about here, feel free to shoot. If there are no questions, we'll handle that as well. That happens. That happens also. We would like to finish this webinar in under an hour. We've done a dry run with Kuba Blažek, so I think we should be able to do it in time. But in order for me to do that, I need to stop talking and I need to actually ask you, Kuba, why are we here? What will these people get out of giving our that time?
Okay, so as it was in the invite, we will talk about two things. One is digital client avatar, which is essentially an AI agent that helps with speed, clarity, and consistency around customer knowledge. So it's focused on the quality in the sales process. Second would be outbound machine, which is essentially a predictable, scalable outbound process using the right AI workflow. So that is more about scaling and about the quantity of your acquisitions and of your marketing and sales efforts. At the end, there will be key takeaways, but don't worry if you would leave, because whoever is here for at least the second time, you know that you will receive the key takeaways also from me by email.
There you go.
And with that, we actually would like to throw a poll
Oh, that's
because
true.
we are very interested in how many tools do you use in your sales department. It will help us kind of understand who we are dealing with and how should we focus the webinar experience.
Mhm.
And also maybe it will be interesting for you to know how do you stand compared to the other attendees here.
To help the people on the other side, like let's give them an example from our side, right? So for example, if I take my position as an example, I use Microsoft Teams to communicate with people. We use Outlook, obviously, our own CRM. We use our Easy Redmine to keep track of pre-sales and projects. I use a note taker, which I know that you will be talking about quite a bit today.
Mhm.
So that's, for example, five essential tools that I've been using. I'm sure that I would be able to name much more than those. It was just kind of like an example or inspiration to get your brain juices flowing, as they say.
Yes. Uh,
I think,
so,
yeah, I think in the
hmm?
meantime, unless we're gonna talk about results right away, like we can continue and we will end the poll in like a minute or something like that.
Absolutely. So for the sake of time, let's dash on
Indeed.
and let's jump into this topic, digital client avatar. Uh, what it essentially is, it is your personal AI agent, or as it is a chatbot in the end, that knows everything about your client based on your internal knowledge, and it gives you the information instantly. So, Lukas, maybe it would help
Mhm.
for the people who are watching if you would, in a practical way, describe how our digital avatar is helping you.
Okay, so which one? Let me just use one example, I guess, instead of like naming a lot of those. I'm gonna use one-on-ones because those have been, or those used to be, a big pain point for me. Because sometimes I would have a one-on-one with one of my colleagues, right? We would schedule it for like 45 minutes or something. And then if I would ask about a specific client, I would get like this whole story, which would take like, I don't know, up to 15 minutes. And it would be very difficult for me to actually get to the bottom of what I need to learn because I have my own agenda given to me by my CEO, for example. So we needed a way that would allow us, not just me, but also my account managers, to kind of like refresh on the state of the client, on the history of the client very quickly, either right before the one-on-one or even like during the one-on-one to like make sure that we can get up to speed as soon as possible. So that's one of the situations that I know that I approached you with that I need to fix as soon as possible. Does that answer, or do you want
Absolutely.
me to go more in detail?
I think it kind of frames the problem, especially from the sales leader point of view,
Mm.
sales manager, sales director. The problem that we were facing when approached by Lukas was that he said a lot of information is missing. It is in the heads of people. When there are handovers of accounts from one account manager to another, there is a lot of time lost on the handovers. And also, we see sometimes that, especially on the kind of slower deals, that a lot of information from the customer is being lost, and the sales reps need to spend a lot of time kind of digging the information up again. So this was the problem that we were facing, is that a lot of information is fragmented over several systems, payments, contracts, offers, notes, and so on. And we wanted to centralize it and make it immediately accessible to everyone in the company. So that's
And
where.
if I
Mhm.
can jump in, I know that I said like it has been very helpful for me, but we've kind of like rolled it out to our customer success management, for example, because like for them it's super important as well, right? For basically anyone that's about to have any interaction with the client, it just makes sense for them to shoot a quick message to the robot and ask like what's been going on with this client? Like should I be worried that they're gonna like I don't know, like spill a lot of frustration, or is everything going well? That's very nice for my colleagues as well to utilize this way.
Exactly. So essentially, it's a what it is a AI agent which is chat based, as I said. It's trained on all your client data. Each customer of this tool has an option to plug in several different data sources. So typically, it would be your CRM where you store most of it. It would be probably if you have a note taker, so that would be the note takers. Might be your invoicing system, might be your project management system, such as Easy Mine. We also wanted to give option to integrate it in existing tools, so customers don't need to buy some, or rather open some new web page, but they can have it, for example, in their Teams or in their Slack or Google Chat. So they have a bot there that they can use immediately. And not only when they are working from the comfort of their office or home, but also if they are traveling to the customer and they park their car in front of the customer HQ and they just want to freshen up on the latest with the customer, so they can use it from their mobile phone as well. And they can get any information that you would typically think of. So it could be pain points, it would be summary of the last activities, the existing contracts, risks. We use MEDPIC as a qualification method, so it would typically be also MEDPIC and so on.
It's all the information that like someone can say, well, I can get that anyway. I just open CRM, right? Yes, but in this case, you don't have to do that. In this case, you just ask a question and like someone goes through the CRM and tells you what you're looking for. Now, I'm saying this because I remember that when we kind of started rolling it out, I felt like there was kind of a lot of pushback from account managers because they were worried about the reliability, like kind of like the day to day, how much I can trust this AI agent. Can you comment real quick about the reliability of
Mhm.
such a process?
Absolutely. So maybe the next slide actually talks to that a
All right,
bit.
nice.
That's where we start. I think it's important to understand that most of the information about the customer is exchanged at the customer meetings. So it's not over email. So you wouldn't typically find it in your CRM as a logged email, uh, or through tickets, for example. It is on a meeting, face to face or over Teams. And we wanted to make sure that we incorporate that knowledge. So we use note taker, as you mentioned. We use Lexi, but it can work with any note taker. And essentially, we take all the information from CRM, from emails, from Lexi, from the contracts and offers, and we summarize it at one place. Uh, we call that collection. For each customer, there is one individual entry, which is in the database. And the agent from that builds several different outputs. So it takes the pains, the risks it notices in the transcripts, the topics that the customer is interested in, and he summarizes that based on the what we call query from the sales rep. So imagine you are a sales manager and you want to kind of reignite some older deal. So ask what were the blockers and why we didn't last time, why did this deal stall or why did it die? And it will give you the knowledge based on the transcripts from the meetings and from the notes. For a manager as such as you, Lukas,
Mm-hmm.
it would be like when you discuss a key client, it would be what are the blockers or what's the purchasing process maybe. That might be important when you are planning some bigger renewal and you want to understand how long the process will be. You can ask how long was the last renewal process, just so you know if you can
Mm-hmm.
forecast it.
Yeah, one example from my side is we roll out a new product, for example, like a new extension to Easy Redmine. And I know that there is like a group of clients that we need to show this to because they are like the prime audience for this new introduction. And this also allows me to like ask a question about this client. Like, has this client been introduced to this feature? And instead of just like asking the account manager and then, talking to the account manager for 15 minutes in a busy day, instead I can just ask and quickly get a response whether or not that happened, which is something that I've been using very extensively. That's one thing. The other thing, if I may jump in, which came very very helpful to me, is salespeople, like in my experience, like for example, if there's like a big opportunity or an interesting opportunity, and it becomes obvious that we are not going to be the ones selected and that we are about to lose that deal, the account manager obviously starts losing interest a little bit, and they start focusing on something else because that's their prize, right? They want to win the deal, they want to move on to business that can actually succeed. But to be honest, there's a lot of valuable information in what these people are saying, even though they are not going to buy. So that's why like these collections have been super helpful for me as well, because I mentioned customer success management, but also our product team. What our product team did proactively, which was a good idea, is they asked for access to our digital client avatars, and they started asking these avatars, hey, what about this client? Like, what were their complaints about Easy Redmine? And they asked this throughout like several big clients, and they actually got some very valuable information that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So sorry for the monologue, but this was a nice use case that I had.
So that's one thing I actually forgot to mention, but this is the goal of this was to make it accessible not only to sales, but really to all either customer facing or generally to the whole company, to give them access to customer information. Perfect. So I think we kind of covered this. I think it might be more practical to show a little bit of demo here. So for the purpose of the demo, I prepared this. So it's not in our internal teams. It's in the interface I created for today. But essentially, as I said, we can integrate it anywhere. So my name is Alfred, as some of you might know, that's the name of our sales agent. So let's first ask him, maybe what can you do? when you onboard a new employee, a new sales colleague, or anybody, this might be a good way to how to start them. So how it works is it asks for account ID. Uh, we found this better than using the name because we deal with customers from the whole world, and typing out names in a language that is very foreign created a lot of mistakes. So it's easier for the account ID. Now I created one just for this demo purposes. So it's a fake client, admittedly, but we basically just anonymized information from one of the existing clients. So here is what it can do, or what it suggests you can, for example, do. So let's say we want to check last sales activities over last 3 months, just to understand if the customer has been worked or not. It asks us if it wants to check only sales activities or also meeting transcripts. This is more for the efficiency, because sometimes you are only interested in the sales activities than the transcripts. And you might notice it takes a little bit. Now it's going over the database. One of the reasons why it's slower, and I think this might be interesting for somebody who is getting into AI, using the latest AI models, like for example from ChatGPT, is usually quicker, but might not be the best. So we sometimes use older ones, which might be in some cases slower, but they don't, for example, hallucinate. They don't make up stuff.
And it's
And
still quicker
Mhm.
than asking the account manager. I can
Oh
tell you that.
yes, by far. And now we can see that there were several different list of activities, which were which we have defined in our CRM. So you can see, for example, there was contract execution, a missed meeting. So we see there was a planned meeting which didn't happen, but it was rescheduled and so on. It also gave us some topics from this company. So we see that they are experiencing a major headcount reduction. So they will most likely drop in users. And for me as a sales leader, this would be super important information because I know I need to work on this account to first save my position, but also this is where I can maybe score some points, but also need to work it into my forecast.
I remember back when we were kind of designing and working on this, like the second thing was exactly what you're writing right now. I also wanted to use it for qualification because we were kind of like moving in terms of our opportunity handling. We were doing some improvements, and the MedPick was something that we needed to implement.
Yes. So here I asked for a medpic table. So these are some of the information. Whoever works with medpic knows it's a abbreviation of several different terms. So I can understand what numbers are being discussed here for their decision. Who is the buyer? What's their decision criteria? And all of this is taken from the transcripts and notes that happened with the customer and later were filled by the account executive. Uh, so I might be interested maybe in Alexander. Is Alexander uh, ready to buy, or does he need more meetings? So you can be even very specific, and if it is within the transcript, if it is agreed, then I should get the information.
Yeah, you're actually taking this in the direction that I was gonna ask because I know that my
Mhm.
people have asked for it before, and that's like whether or not it gives you just like a status, or if you can actually ask it for advice based on, for example, experience that we've had in the past.
Yes. So we actually see there has been a recent order confirmation. So probably Alexander is ready to buy. So stuff like this is, I think, should give you enough information about the agent. Essentially, as we were saying, it's something that is uh, its purpose is to save time and give knowledge to everybody in the sales team, not just the account executive, and count on it that he will put everything in the CRM, because
Mhm.
as everybody knows, that is not always the case. And I am also sometimes one to blame because it happens to me as well. So that's
One,
why we automate, so I don't have to remember it.
One quick experience from my end is we recently hired a very junior sales manager, and they were like very inclined to provide discounts at the like very first initial like question from a client. And then this digital avatar also helped them to like navigate this discussion as well, because they would ask like, the client asked me for discount because ABC. Has anyone run into this scenario before? And then the robot told them, yes, we have ran into this scenario 7 times before, and this argument is usually the one that can be used in order to negotiate properly, blah blah blah. And that's how it helped quite recently, actually. We lost your voice, if I'm not mistaken. But in the meantime, while Jakub is going to sort out the audio, because I know that this is something that I have been using extensively, is actually the note taker. Like Jakub said, like we've been using several note takers before, or at least we've been trying to use several note takers before. Obviously, there is a feature in Microsoft Teams, for example, for transcription, which hasn't worked for us very well. So we started using Lexi, Leexy dot AI, if I'm not mistaken. And that's something that has been working for us tremendously in the past, because in many cases, like I said, there have been several discussions that our clients, that our account managers would have with clients, and in most of these cases, there's a lot of information that's going to be missed. And if we're using Lexi, if we're utilizing a good enough note taker, it actually helps us to collect all this information in one place and then utilize it. It's always going to be the case with artificial intelligence. Unless we give it a proper enough source, we're not going to be able to utilize AI in any way. Okay, I can see.
So can you
There you
can you hear
go.
me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you,
And
Jakub.
this is why you take Lukas as a colleague, because he can cover for you when something fails, as it very often does during my webinars. So thank you for covering. As you were saying, yes, Lexi is our note taker. I heard only part of it, what you said, but I believe you covered the essentials.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
just going through the essentials and basically speaking about what Lexi is and
yes.
how to feed AI correct information. And now go ahead.
Exactly. And as I was mentioning before, 70% of the client information happens on the meetings. You need to get that information from those meetings into your CRM or into the digital agent. So you need some kind of note taker. Now, we were doing back in the day, as Lukas might have said, a big selection. We tried many different note takers. In the end, we chose Lexi, and we were deciding based on these criteria. So first, obviously the transcript accuracy, how well it can transcript, not only in English, but because we have a lot of Czech people, we have German, French speakers. So we wanted to make sure that it covers all the languages, including the smaller ones like Czech. That's a big part of it. Second very important thing is the speaker deorization. If you don't know deorization, I didn't know until I started preparing for this. It's essentially to make sure that it can understand when it's me talking or when it's Lukas, because not every note taker is great in that. And third is the CRM linking, essentially, again, how to integrate it with different CRMs. For this purpose, initially we worked with HubSpot because Lexi integrates with HubSpot. But since we started an adoption or integration team, we integrated into the Easy CRM straight away.
I just want
And
to focus real quick on the speaker dearization or whatever the
mhm,
pronunciation is, because back when we were using a different note taker, one of our account managers would obviously say, EasyRedMine is a great software and the Gantt chart works amazingly like this. But the note taker thought that it was the client that said that. And then obviously all the AI will say this client is super happy because they think EasyRedMine is amazing and it does this well. But no, it was actually the account manager who said it, and the client was actually challenging it. So because of that, it created a lot of like misunderstandings. So that's why we needed to make sure that the note taker actually does its job well.
exactly. Here is just now. This is not a product placement. We are
True.
enthusiastic by with Lexi, but we are not in any way affiliated with them.
No,
But
no
this was
partnership.
this was our research. So Gong, we generally consider it best of the breed. It has even higher accuracy and kind of big more features than Lexi. Actually, much more features. but some of them were not necessary for us. Lexi, one of the reasons why we chose it is also because it stores all data strictly within EU, which for us is important as we work with also regulated customers. But there are many others, and I would suggest to anybody who's looking into improving their sales, even if they don't necessarily go with our agent, you are not interested in that, definitely have a look into note takers if you don't have them. It's the first software. If I was starting a company, it's the first software I would buy after, let's say, after buying email and CRM.
And easy read mine.
And of course, easy read mine from my colleague Lukas. So this is the quick takeaway at the end. Essentially, what does the digital client avatar do is it helps you faster prep for meetings. It helps you faster onboard your new colleagues because they can immediately get knowledge from key customers or from their new accounts. It essentially gives you a zero knowledge loss because you can ask about anything that is stored within your systems. It helps consistent customer experience across teams. And one more point, I think also for this is from the customer point of view. I'm sure everybody here has at some point bought some software and you know how much you hate it when there is an exchange in the sales rep on the vendor side and we have to repeat again and again what you've already said. This diminishes it greatly, so the situation is much better and we already have feedback from the customers, like they appreciate when we come prepared for those meetings with them, that we have the context.
Which is kind of like a duh moment, but like I was still surprised how many people fail to do this simple step to actually come prepared to a meeting. And I'm not talking about my colleagues, rather like, experiences I've had with people online.
Perfect. So that was for the digital client avatar.
Outbound machine. Sorry, I needed to use a jingle or something to kind of like separate, to make it really obvious that outbound machine.
Thank you, Lukas.
There you go.
Perfect. I was looking forward to this part. So let's switch gears. Let's go from quality to quantity. Let's now scale. So what is essentially an outbound machine? Or rather, why do we need some to do outbound? Why do we need to scale outbound? The way we see it, or we saw it with Easy Software, I think is very similar to all other software companies over the last 5 years. Inbound is slowing down. It doesn't scale unless you are a category leader. And essentially, you need to find some new ways how to attract customers or potential leads. So maybe Lukas, tell us about your situation in your sales department. How many people are actually now focused on acquisitions, and how has the situation changed over the last several years?
All right, so I'll start with the situation change. I feel it changed quite heavily because we needed to start investing into outbound quite a bit and actually learn how to hunt properly. So at this point, we have 4, let's call them hunters in our portfolio. Back in the day, we would have like a mixed role of both like someone designed or directed towards acquisitions and then account management and like account care. Nowadays, we needed to separate. And I also feel it personally, like when I go to LinkedIn, for example, and I see the kind of offers that are either posted online or that end up in my inbox as well. Like I see there's a lot more interest and a lot more need for someone that's actually good in hunting. And by hunting, I mean like opening conversations, having good enough small talks which feel natural and authentic, and also actually like knowing how to nicely bundle the value into a smooth conversation. Basically, that's a big skill to have, big soft skill to have nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is kind of proves that people are still trying to scale their outbound or their hunting acquisition through people than necessarily tools. And I think it's often more meaningful to scale through tools and have smaller number of acquisition sales reps that are there only when they make some value. So with that in mind, we created something which we call outbound machine. And what it essentially is, it's a process and combination of several softwares which are linked together by a platform to create, again, an AI agent. So essentially, it's one big flow. And it focuses on database sourcing, meaning getting you the right target list, on enrichment, which gives you a lot of information about each potential lead or each potential person to approach. It centralizes all intelligence, all data in a CRM as a source of truth. And then it launches multi-channel sequencing, which is using all this previous information it got to create highly tailored outreaches. Because everybody today, now that we have the AI times and we have a lot of digital content which is generic, everybody is, I would say, pretty much kind of blind to marketing emails. I don't know how many of you still read it, but unless it's from a vendor that you really like, if it would be a cold outreach, I'm guessing most people kind of skip through it. That's why we need to tailor everything and why we need to use multi-channels, meaning LinkedIn, Teams, potentially WhatsApp, and emails to make sure that we find the right person. Maybe Lukáši, could you tell us a short quiz question? What is ICP? It's here as the database sourcing, scraping based on
Profil
ICP.
ideálního zákazníka.
Oh, how
Okay.
many of our customers understood it in English, in Czech?
I know that could have been like one or two, but it's ideal customer profile, I would say.
Yes, exactly. It's an ideal customer profile or ideal client profile, and essentially it tells us where you should be more successful. And each company should know it more or less. Some companies have it more defined, some less. We actually did a lot of work on this last year, where we, as a company, kind of got back to the drawing board and worked on this. And it should tell you where you are the strongest, who you want to speak with, so you don't lose time on companies that are not the ideal fit. Who is it for you, Lukáš, and your team?
There are several, but I'm just gonna kind of like focus on one, and it's general aerospace and defense. And in aerospace and defense, like because we provide an on-premise open source tool, so a lot in terms of security, we are a European Union vendor as well, which generally helps us a lot. And we are also like a direct replacement of the Atlassian stack, which definitely plays a lot into our favor. So that's usually the cards that we play with in this field. And to be honest, like yes, the aerospace and defense is the kind of business that needs to have a lot of personal touch. It needs to be like a lot of conferencing and a lot of like events to go to like build relationships. But at the same time, outbound has been amazing to kind of like warm up these people and at least like introduce this segment to Easy Redmine, to the fact that we actually exist, because there's about like 100 people in Easy Software, so it's quite natural that a lot of these clients haven't never heard of us. So we need to warm them up somehow, tell them about us, tell them what's good about our company, and making sure that once we approach them, they'll be like, yeah, well, Easy Redmine, I've heard that before. So that's how we've been using outbound to a nice success, I would say.
Perfect. Thanks for the description. How I often describe this agent is that essentially, if you have a good pitch that you would tell personally on some networking event, such as Lukáš was saying, this tool will help you to tell it to thousands of others of the similar profile. So if I know that, for example, defense is the right place for us, and we want to target PMs, their project managers, I will be able to get the same message to thousands of them, which will be tailored to them specifically, not necessarily just some generated. So maybe let's have a look how the workflow goes. Is essentially at the beginning, we create a target list. We source a database. We use Lucia for this, but there are many different databases. Each has its pros and cons, and the whole agent is designed to work with any of them, depending on where you find your segment or where you find your ICP. So for Czech customers, they might use Merck. For companies that target US, it might be ZoomInfo. For us, because we operate a lot in European market, we use Lucia. And we put typically, for example, when I use it and I address this agent, I try to pitch meetings. I address CSOs and RevOps and chief of marketing and similar within the European Union, especially in the German market. So that's where we get the database, and then we enrich it. This essentially works in a way that it will give you more information about the company, what they do, where they are located, about the person within that company. So how long he is in that position, what are his recent LinkedIn posts about, what job adverts maybe he reposted from the company. So he's probably invested in that, and so on. Now we store everything from that in the CRM, and then we use Lemlist, which is a tool that uses AI and it sends out messages which utilize all of this information. So it wouldn't be just generic message to Lukas. Hey, Lukas, as a sales director at Easy Software, we thought you might be interested in our sales agent, but it would be, we saw that recently you had great success at the German Expo, great job, and we would like to talk to you about that. And stuff that is relevant to Lukas and maybe flatters his ego a bit just to increase our chances. It does this. I know you by now. It does this at scale. So depending on your total addressable market, it can be hundreds to thousands of outreaches per month. And once you get certain signals from the prospect that they are interested in talking, so they respond to your automated message or they read some material. It is up to you to define what is the right criteria. They get essentially qualified as a marketing MQL, marketing qualified lead, and passed on to somebody who ideally phone calls them and sets up a meeting. But even that could be automated. It's just that we found out that the best success right now we have when we still use the good old cold call. So this was very briefly about the workflow. So maybe if we go, just I don't want to spend too much time on this. Also to be conscious of the time. How are we doing, Lukas, please?
About like 35 minutes in, all speaking considered. I think we've got like nice 10 to 15 for this.
Okay, so I don't want to bore anyone with the technical detail, but just so you know, our earlier outbound attempts here at Easy didn't work quite so well. We had random lists. We were targeting all over, and targeting was generic. We were targeting different segments, different industries, and we were not really focusing on our ICP. Once we started focusing on that, so using the right databases and addressing the right market, the conversion rates kind of really multiplied by a lot. So this is, I think, very important at the beginning, is to get a list of people who will kind of want to hear about you, most likely based on your previous experiences. And then you need to get more information about them. And this is where we use Clay, which is kind of been go-to tool for in the last year for sales and marketing experts, and it kind of enriches the information. So while Lucia or ZoomInfo will tell you who to talk to, this enrichment, this Clay will tell you more about like what should they respond to very well. You can prompt it, so it can give you a lot of pre-qualification based on your value offering. So this is something that works for us very well, is we use it for kind of accurate scoring, how we will probably be successful with the lead. And then obviously we need to store it at some central point of knowledge, which is here for us, it is Easy CRM. Again, as I was saying before, we used HubSpot because of the integrations, but this has been already fixed by essentially my team. But it can integrate with any CRM that you might think of. So Pipedrive, Salesforce, or any other. I think here it is really important if you qualify the lead later on that you can kind of show to your account executives who will go into the meeting with the customer what everything has the customer done, what he has seen, what he has received, so they can understand what was the message. And this is also kind of a beauty if you have it structured like this, is it should be usually more or less the same, and the expectation of the customer should be easier to predict rather than if you have it completely led just by people where you have more proficient BDRs and less proficient BDRs, and sometimes you can they can not set the expectation right. And then the most important, this is where what the customer will see, is using some multi-channel outreach. So for us, what works well is combining email and LinkedIn, occasionally also for some countries, WhatsApp. And Lamlist is great at automating most of that. It also does what we call domain warming. So it increases your chance of delivering the email. So it avoids spam filters and so on, because also we try to target specifically, not just mass mail, anybody, but it is a selected list, even though it can be in hundreds or thousands. So that's why you need to have a tool that will be able to ensure that you deliver your emails to your customers. And once you get some, what we call a hit, meaning you get some reply or you get some signal from the lead that they are positive about the contact, so they require more resources perhaps, or they require a meeting, it is automatically qualified and handed over to the specific account executive who should go to the meeting prepared, maybe also based on the digital client avatar, for example. We actually keep the information a bit separate, so they get their own research, but it could work the same way. So this was kind of the summary of the outbound machine. And here we come to the takeaways from this. So from what we've seen, we need, and this should be our kind of message to everybody here, is if you are not doing outbound, we strongly suggest that you start doing it, because inbound is kind of getting diminishing returns over the last few years. And when you start doing outbound, it needs to be a system, not just a kind of attempt when I have the free time. It needs to be structured, repeatable, and you need to be able to assess the data when you convert and what works and what doesn't work. It's not some kind of one-off stuff that you set up and you don't change. It's something which needs to be updated. And this is where you can use our outbound machine agent, where it feeds you back the data on what works and what doesn't work.
If I can jump in real quick, that's one thing I wanted to mention, and I kind of forgot about it, is even though like the whole flow that you showed earlier, it can look somewhat intimidating at some point. I feel like it doesn't have to be that complex. Like the outbound machine, obviously, it will naturally develop into something complex, but it can be simplified to begin with. So like starting doesn't necessarily have to mean like going huge with 10 different softwares. Or am I incorrect in this?
You are not correct or incorrect.
There you go.
As the right diplomat, I would rephrase the question.
Exactly.
The question should be, I think first, who is it for? I think this is like good, because this system is not for everybody. And I was saying before, if you don't have your pitch, your message right, meaning you don't know what to say to the potential customer, to your ideal customer live that would get their attention, you won't be successful with something like this. First, you need to work on your messaging and on your value proposition, so it's good, it's scalable, and it works on your ICP. If you have that, then you can be interested and into outbound machine, and it will work for you. And the reason why we created an agent from this is to avoid kind of having to do by your own several different softwares. That's why we use the whole agent as a platform where you feed it what you want, who is your ICP, what is your value proposition, what works, what doesn't work, and it utilizes it utilizes this data and gives you back the results. It should also it works on its own, but it also depends obviously on you and your business experience to do A/B testing. So there is a lot of I have it here as the last one, but let me skip ABC 2.0. As they said, always be closing. We say always be experimenting. So you always need to be testing new messages, new times, new personas. And I think this is true even if you do outbound still the old way, meaning the more or less manual way. You still need to experiment and try a bit of new stuff just to make sure you are progressing, because otherwise you kind of get lost in the material, in the AI fluff that is today everywhere. So I'm not sure if it answered your question, but just to put it into one sentence, the whole agent is there to avoid you needing to set up individual softwares, so it can do it for you.
Yep, I'm good with that. It wasn't really a question from my side, more so like I felt like it was good to address the complexity and intimidation factor because I've seen it before play a role.
Absolutely. So yeah, just to finish the takeaways, enrichment is the difference between noise and relevance. If you get a good ICP list, meaning all of these are CIOs who are interested in our infrastructure offering, but you sound generic, they will not read it, they will not respond to it. You need to make it tailored for them. So that's why the enrichment is needed. So they know that they are the only ones receiving this specific message. Nobody else got the same message because everybody is different in their online presence. You need to store everything somewhere as a single source of truth. So CRM is the good way to do that. It could be some other database, but it doesn't necessarily make sense because you need to still be able to show it to your account executives later on or to your marketing department.
There you go.
That's it from us. That's it about the outbound machine.
Indeed.
Indeed, as Tielk says. I would actually like to ask first my colleague Standa if we can show the results of the poll.
Let me see if it's displayable. Oh,
And
yeah.
I can now see it. So we see that 76% have 1 to 5 softwares in the sales department. 6 to 10, that's 24. So 1/4.
It can definitely differentiate. Like if you're like the end user, right? If you're like, for example, account manager, or if you're the person that's actually setting up the whole process behind, I can imagine that can play a big role.
Exactly. So why we ask this, I think it's important, is that it's part of this, what I was saying, always be experimenting. Let me go one slide back. We like to try new tools because today you have a lot of specialized tools, and what works for half a year or for a year will not maybe be the best the next year. And it's a very competitive market. And in the past, people were used to buying licenses for years and then sticking with the software. And I think for sales and marketing, especially, I'm not saying exchange CRMs every year, that is too crucial and heavy system, but these smaller additional softwares like note takers maybe, or databases like ZoomInfo and Lusha, they can kind of change how they work, and there can be new challengers. And this is where I kind of suggest to everybody, try new stuff, always dedicate a bit of your time and energy to try new softwares, experiment with them, test them, see if they get better results, because this should generate the ROI. So 6 to 10, in my opinion, should show a bit more mature sales department, typically, unless there is some reason. In our team, we actually have in the next category 11 to 15, but always part of that is just because we are trying new stuff and seeing if it will get us the results or not. So that's for the poll. Thank you, everybody.
We
And
do have
now,
one question here. I mean, there were
okay.
two, but I'm going to read the one that hasn't been answered yet, by Miss or Mrs. Doležalová. Is the note taker able to take notes from a live meeting, as in like a face-to-face meeting? Because I can imagine that somebody has had to deal with that before.
Absolutely, and it actually is good question because I've been asked that previously many times. What we do here is we essentially start a team meeting, invite the note taker there. I started on my mobile phone and I put it between me and the person, and I explain why I need it. It's because forget half of the stuff all the time, so it's helped me make sure that I address everything they are concerned with. And I actually haven't, it hasn't happened to me in the last year that somebody would object to my note taker anywhere in a live meeting or in the Teams meeting. So this is what I would suggest using. I wanted to talk about one more thing maybe because it was in the comparison slide. Sometimes people feel that they might do with Teams transcripts or Zoom transcripts. And we were testing that out initially, and we found out that the results are just not good enough, and it creates too much of. And I think actually Lukas, we even spoke about it in the
Mm.
last webinar we held during the summer that it is doable. We were trying to use it, and we must say by now that it doesn't produce good enough results, so you can use it for your purposes internally. So I would
I,
strongly discourage that.
I generally see that around AI. Like for some people, it's very difficult to build up the confidence and the trust, and it's very easy to lose it. And I think it was the same with the note taker. Like in order for our people to really depend on it and
Mhm.
believe what it says, we needed to make sure that the note taker actually provides accurate information.
Yes. Okay, so I see there are no more questions.
There was one more which has been answered already, and I feel like it's a good question to close this out as well. And there was once again whether or not you will get the recording of this, which is definitely yes. We have been recording this. It's going to be posted on our website, if I'm not mistaken, and it should also be sent to your mailboxes since you've attended. And Kuba, like you said, right? Like you will also be sending some personalized email after the webinar as well.
Yeah, it will not be out today after, but it will be
Right,
tomorrow
right.
or Monday.
So yeah, once again, thanks to everyone that has joined. This is something that we've enjoyed doing. Like I said, this was the last in a series of webinars. So if you're at any point interested in how we have been utilizing the AI, even if it's not for sales, but for other departments, head to our website. Like there's the full list of, I think, 7 or 8 webinars that have happened for different departments. Maybe you will find something that's even more suitable for your role. From my side of the table, I think I've said or asked everything I needed to. Kuba, is there anything you want to say before we say the final bye-bye?
I actually think I said even more than I should
Oh, there you
because
go.
I can see that it was an hour and we were aiming for 45 minutes. So I would like just to encourage everybody to adopt AI tools and automations. I thank you so much for your attention and enjoy your winter period. And if you have any questions regarding automations, integrations, or AI,
Right.
I'm the person to talk to at Easy Software.
If you celebrate Christmas, then enjoy the upcoming Christmas. If you do not celebrate Christmas, then enjoy the upcoming end of the year. And yeah, we'll probably see each other at one of the many future webinars that we are planning for 2026. So thank you again and have a beautiful day. Bye bye.
Good. Bye bye.